Now we're going to talk about factoring out a greatest common factor. And factoring is undoing the multiplication, right? We're figuring out what things multiplied to get together to give us the result. And then greatest common factor is what's the greatest or the most that can be divided out of all terms. Okay, so we're kind of undistributing. Okay, so if I look at example number 1, I want to start by looking at both terms and I want to figure out what it is that they have in common. Well, I can see that they both have an x, so I'm definitely going to divide that x out. And then I want to check the numerical values. Is there anything that negative 53 and 24 have in common? So think about numbers that multiply together to give me 53 or numbers that multiply together to give me 24. They don't have any numbers that I can divide out of both of them that's the same. So this x is all that I can divide out or factor out. So I'll rewrite it with the x out front. And then we do the division just like we did before. Negative 53x plus 24. That's it. Okay, if I distribute this back in, I'm going to get my x squared and 24x, and we know we're good to go. Okay, so let's look at another example. 24x squared, 12x, and negative 18. I can't take the x out now because the 18 doesn't have one with it. It wouldn't be common. It's not in all of the terms. So we're going to look at the numerical values, 24, 12, and 18. Well, the greatest value number I can divide out of everything is a 6. So I'm going to write down the 6, and when I divide, 24 divided by 6 is 4, keeps the x squared. 12 divided by 6 is 2x. We didn't divide out a negative, so the sign stays the same. And 18 divided by 6 is 3, and it stays negative also. And that's all we got. Okay. Example 3, we're going to kind of combine both of those because now every term has that x value. So I'm definitely going to take the x out of everything. And then when I look at 16, 32, and 48, all of those are divisible by 8. So now we pull out the 8x, and then step by step, 16 divided by 8 is 2. X to the 4th divided by x just leaves x cubed. 32 divided by 8 is 4. It stays positive. X cubed divided by x is x squared. Minus 6. 48 divided by 8. X over x cancels out. So if we were to distribute this back in, 8 times 2 is 16. X times x cubed is x to the 4th. Every term results back in our original problem. Okay. Well, both of these times we were able to jump straight to 6 and 8. If you don't notice that right off the bat, that's okay. We're going to look at the same problem, but we're going to first take out the x. Maybe we just want to get that out of the way. So I'm going to put that here, and then it leaves 16x cubed plus 32x squared minus 48. Well, now I can come back in and look at the numeric values, 16, 32, and 48. Well, they're all even, so I know I can divide them all by 2. So when I do that, this 2, it's going to come out front with the x. It's still multiplication. So 2x times, that leaves 8x cubed plus 16x squared minus 24. Okay? And when we look through there, they're still all even numbers. So I could divide through by 2 again. So if I divide by 2, well, when I take another one out, it's still multiplication. So now I've got 4x times, that leaves 4x cubed plus 8x squared minus 12. And at this point, it should be easier to recognize these are all divisible by 4. Okay. So when we divide all of these by 4, I put that out front. 4 divided by 4, x cubed, 2x squared, negative 3. That leaves me with 16x. Well, this isn't the same answer we got back up here. Well, because if I look, 2 times 4, 6, I can still divide a 2 out of all of these. We've got to always get in the habit of going back and checking to make sure that when we finish, before we walk away from it, we've actually gotten everything divided out that we can. So when I divide these 2's out, multiplies back here, and that's going to leave me 16x times 2 divided by 2 just leaves x cubed. There's a 1. 4 divided by 2 plus 2x squared minus 3. Now there's not anything left I can divide out of here, and I know that this is actually the correct answer. It's the same thing we ended up with down here. Okay, so always check before you move on. Go back and double check. Have we divided everything out that we can? We know this is the final answer because the only thing I can divide everything by is 1, and that won't change anything, so we're good to go.